If you have a dream, chase for it. Simulan mo nang abutin. Make it happen. Work and raise your family in Australia with AMVPS. Just make your future bright with AMVPS. Ang migration, education, pangarap ay maabot na. AMVPS ang kasama mo. AMVPS, 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 AMVPS.
For inquiries, visit our website amvpsolutions.info and Facebook page Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions.
Good day, everyone. My name is Edmund Galvez, and I am the Registered Migration Agent of Aussie Migration Visa Professional Solutions. Today's information session, we will be talking about the extradition treaty between Philippines and Australia. I'll discuss later what's the definition of extradition. On the other hand, when we say treaty, this is an agreement between two contracting parties. So this treaty that we are going to discuss has been signed on the 7th day of March 1988. This is not new. And the purpose of the treaty is to somehow help the consenting parties to bring back the hiding citizens to their home country so that they can face the charges. And the person could either be convicted, meaning the judgment has already been decided and he's already been decided as a guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and also those that has been subjected to criminal proceedings. Okay, let's proceed. I'll share my screen. So as I mentioned, the treaty was signed on the 7th day of March 1998. Now, in my experience, I have a client who was seeking for assistance to bring back to the Philippines the person is subject to a criminal prosecution. So what I did, I contacted the Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs, or OTLA, of the Department of Foreign Affairs in Manila. And the other responsible office for the extradition treaty would be the Embassy of Australia in Manila. And I'll share to you the telephone number, the fax number, and the email address in case you also want to communicate with the Department of Foreign Affairs if you know someone who is hiding in Australia and is facing criminal charges or has already been convicted under courts in the Philippines. Now, I mentioned what is extradition. Now, the definition is, extradition is the formal process of one state surrendering an individual to another state for prosecution or punishment of crimes. So it's a formal process. That means it's not a 1-minute process. It involves a step-by-step. It involves several offices before this can be implemented. And it involves two states for purposes of surrendering an individual, and that individual is a citizen of the requesting state. For prosecution, when we say prosecution, so that the individual can face the charges against him and so that the decision be made, or for punishment. Punishment meaning the individual has already been decided as guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Extraditable offenses are offenses which are punishable under the laws of both contracting states. So offenses, criminal offenses, under the laws of both contracting states, Philippines and Australia, by imprisonment for a period of at least 1 year or by more severe penalties. So minimum of 1 year imprisonment. Where the request for extradition relates to a person convicted, so meaning to say there has already been a decision that is final, extradition shall be granted only if a period of at least 6 months imprisonment remains to be served. So take note that the period of imprisonment should be at least 6 months imprisonment. Now, let's discuss extraditable offenses. An offense shall be an extraditable offense whether the laws of the contracting states, either be Australia or Philippines, place the offense within the same category or denominate the offense by different terminology. So for example, under criminal laws in Australia, they have the crime of murder. In the Philippines, we also have the crime of murder. On the other hand, in Australia, they have a crime called manslaughter. That is a killing of a person. In the Philippines, we don't have manslaughter as a crime. But in that example, manslaughter can still be considered an extraditable offense because it states that the offense, whether the laws of the contracting states place the offense within the same category or denominate the offense by different terminology. Now, the totality of the acts or omissions alleged against the person whose extradition is requested shall be taken into account in determining the constituent elements of the offense. So, totality of the acts or omissions alleged against the person. So, this refers to a person who has not yet been convicted. So, it will be considered in the process of extradition. Now, as to the territoriality or as to the scope of the territoriality of the commission of the offense, this is the rule under the extradition treaty. Where the offense has been committed outside the territory of the requesting state, so for example, there's a Filipino who is hiding in Australia, and the place of the commission of the offense is outside the Philippines, then extradition shall be granted where the laws of the requested state, meaning to say Australia, provide for the punishment for an offense committed outside its territory in similar circumstances. So if the crime committed outside the Philippines by a Filipino is also a crime under Australian laws, even if the place of commission is outside Australia by an Australian citizen, then extradition may be invoked. Where the laws of the requested state or where the laws of Australia does not so provide, the requested state may refuse extradition. Now, as to the time element, when should the offense be committed to be covered under the extradition treaty? Now, the treaty provides that extradition may be granted irrespective of when the offense was committed. So time element is not necessary, provided that at the time of the acts or commission, it was an offense in the requesting state. So at the time the offense was committed, it's already a crime under Philippine laws. And the acts or commissions alleged would, if they have taken place in Australia, at the time of the making of the request for extradition have constituted an offense against the laws in force in Australia. So that's the rule as to the time element. It means that at the time of the commission of the offense, it should be already a crime in the requesting state or in Australia. And the other one, at the time of the request for extradition, it should be an offense in the laws of the requested state or in Australia. Now let's proceed. Now, the procedure. In the first slide, I gave you the email, the contact number, and the name of the office responsible for the implementation of the extradition treaty. Now, this is the procedure. The requesting state, for example, the Philippines, may apply by means of the facilities of the International Criminal Police Organization or Interpol, or by other means for the provisional arrest of the person sought. The application may be transmitted by post or telegraph or by any other means affording a record in writing. So in my experience, my application was sent through email to the email of Office of Treaties and Legal Affairs. Now, you need to attach several documents to support your claim that there is an order already, there is a existing warrant of arrest in the Philippines. And the second procedure is that the application for the provisional arrest must contain the following. Number 1, a description of the person. Number 2, a statement that extradition is to be requested through diplomatic channel. Number 3, a statement of the existence of one of the documents authorizing the apprehension of the person, for example, the warrant of arrest. Number 4, a statement of the punishment that can be or has been imposed for the offense. And if requested by the requested state or the Philippines, a concise statement of the acts or omissions alleged to constitute the offense. Now, let's proceed. The requested state or the Philippines shall take the Australia as the requested state shall take the necessary steps to secure the arrest of the person sought, and the requesting state shall be promptly notified of the result of its request. And a person arrested upon application for provisional arrest may be set at liberty upon the expiration of 45 days from the date of the person's arrest if a request for extradition has not been received. So take note, a person arrested upon application for provisional arrest may be set at liberty or may be freed after 45 days from the date of the arrest if there is no receipt of request for extradition. Now, as to surrender, the requested state shall communicate the decision to the requesting state through diplomatic channels, through embassies. So requested state, Australia, shall communicate to the Philippine Embassy in Australia as soon as a decision has been made. And the requested state shall surrender the person from a point of departure in its territory convenient to the requesting state if extradition is granted. And then the requesting state or the Philippines shall remove the person from the requested state or Australia within such reasonable period as the requested state specifies. And if the person is not removed by the requesting state or the Philippines, then for succeeding offenses committed, the requested state may refuse to extradite that person for the same offense. And if circumstances beyond its control prevent a requested state from surrendering or removing the person to be extradited, it shall notify the other requesting state, and the two contracting states shall mutually decide upon a new date of surrender. So I think that's all for today, and I hope you learned that there are hiding Filipino criminals in Australia, and there is a remedy. Now, for visa application purposes, there is a mandatory requirement of character. Now, there are times that these individuals were given a visa, but it doesn't mean to say that they can apply for a permanent visa later on because of the character requirement under the Australian Migration Program, and also because of the standing extradition treaty between the Philippines and Australia. So I think that's all for now. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
A dream. Everyone has it. Distractions are everywhere, which makes us feel far from our dreams. Now, there is a way to close that gap. With AMVPS, we can take the one less travel by, and that has made all the difference. Whether big or small, our dreams are there to take us to write our future. Be a scholar now. To learn more, visit our website at amvpsolutions.info. Like us on Facebook at Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions.
If you have a dream, chase for it. Simulan mo nang abutin. Make it happen. Come on and study Australia with AMVPS. Let's make your future bright with AMVPS. Legal migration, education, pangarap ay maabot na. AMVPS, ang kasama mo. AMVPS, 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 AMVPS.
One of the best feelings in life is having moments with the ones you love, even if you're far away from each other. Despite being 1,000 miles apart, our feelings haven't changed. Being beside you is a wish that I've long desired. With professional help, the long wait is over. Bridge the gap with Aussie Migration and Visa Professional Solutions. You can study, work, or live in Australia. With the help of our experts, you can fix your migration and visa application efficiently. Now, love doesn't have to be distant. Call us now.